How's that? Oh, there we go. Hey guys, how's it going? You know it wouldn't be one of my streams unless I had audio issues, right? That's like it's now a it's like a feature of my streams is like some audio issue. Turns out I just had my mic set on the wrong mic, so now for some reason my music has stopped playing. Weird. On Earth is going. Anyways, how's everyone doing? Happy Sunday. I'm like, I would never make it as like a film director dude. Where is my audio? Back. God, guys, why is my life so difficult all the time? I know, but like now my my music's not working. It's like one thing I fixed one thing and I broke another thing. So now I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. You're working. All right. Is that working? You guys hear anything? I don't hear anything. It's like my speaker stopped working. No, yeah, I know you can hear me, but my music you can't play. I can't even hear my music. So now I'm trying to figure out what I've done. What I did. Here. That's not it. One of those days, guys. I'm like I'm like already so frustrated. I'm like, fuck. Why did I decide to stream hungover? Is let me one second. I'm gonna duck down and figure out what's going on with my my speakers. All right. Let's see this. Reload Spotify. Spotify. Like my speakers just died. Ah, here we go. There we go. All right. Sorry. Okay, we're working. We're back. Technology. All right. How's the sound there? Is it too loud? Or is it good? We're doing house music today because we need to do this. We're on a timer here today. Well, we were on a timer and then I just flubbed it. So, all right. Hey guys, happy Sunday. Hope everyone had a good weekend so far. Thanks for joining me on the stream today. So today we're going to be doing some Cursed City speed painting. So I decided to start with my favorite model in the kit because I thought that'd be fun to do. So that's a Jelsen Darrok. So the way it's going to work is the only rules is I'm allowed to prime it, but other than that, everything I do for this model has to be done in 2 hours. So the goal is I'm going to be starting a timer. And assuming that my technology situation is fixed, which is like 50% at this point because I just literally had two very basic technology issues with like my mic and my speakers within like the first minute. If I can get the timer, I think I have a timer script working, but I'm not sure and I won't know until I actually start it. So fingers crossed that we start it. If you have any suggestions for the theme on this model, let me know. But basically, 2 hours start to finish. So it's gonna be including the base. So I gotta try to be smart with how I do, like, for instance, the base. I am going to semi-cheat a bit and put them in a painting handle, just so I don't have to hold them. So that'll be a little bit easier. And if you have any suggestions for color schemes, let me know. I probably won't listen to you guys because I'll just probably do whatever's fastest, but I'm interested to hear your color schemes anyways. All right. And just a few small things before we get going. Once I start, I'm not going to get up, hopefully, unless I have to pee really bad. But if I pee, I'm not stopping the timer. So 2 hours, including bathroom breaks, AFKs, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's basically it. And we're going to be doing one character per night for the next, like, 6 or 8 streams. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more characters after this. So we're doing about 3 painting streams a week. So we'll do all of those streams next week. So Monday, Friday, and Sunday next week. We're going to do 1 more character each. And then the following week, we'll do Monday, Wednesday, Sunday as well. So, all right, with that said, okay, so here's the moment of truth. I'm going to see if my script timer works. So let's try it now. And then as soon as you see the timer, we're going to start. Oh no, it's very long. My timer. That is too much time. So give me 1 sec. I want to figure out this timer situation. Thanks, man. Thanks for the timers. Let me figure out this timer thing. All right, I'm gonna get this working, guys, in 1 sec. All right, boom, timer. There's 2 hours. Let's go, guys. All right. So I'm gonna just start by putting some paint on my wet palette because that's, oh shit, he's dead. That's gonna make my my life a lot easier. So I'm just doing some browns right now. These are all Pro Aqua colors. You guys have questions about the colors I'm using, just let me know. My goal is to kind of get everything on the palette first, my colors, and then that way I'm kind of like off to the races, so to speak. What else? A little bit of red. Oh crap, I forgot my water. Not a good start, guys, not a good start. Didn't have my water. Okay, what else? I want each brush a new color. What do you mean? I don't know what that means. That sounds too hardcore. Oh, what am I doing? I just did that. So I did a stupid thing last night, guys. I'm gonna come clean. At like 10:30, I was like getting ready to go to bed, deciding I was gonna have a nice quiet night, and I obviously got a text message from one of my friends and decided to go out to my friend's house at like 11:30, and I didn't get home till like 4 in the morning, so I'm feeling a little bit haggard this morning. What else do I want here, color-wise? Dark silver. Yeah, I mean the stupid part is like I decided to go out at 11:30 when I could have easily just gone to bed and felt great today. That's the stupid part. The stupid part is I have no self-control. Anyone have a vortex mixer? I was thinking of getting one because the Pro Acryl paints definitely need a good mix. All right. So I'm gonna try not to use any washes on this model, guys, just because of drying times. I'm gonna be trying to doing a lot of like wet blending and stuff like that. I want to kind of minimize how much time I have to actually wait for anything to dry. And the only thing I've done kind of beforehand is I just give it a quick zenithal highlight. Shane, you know me though. Oh yeah, and I wanted to do the face really early in this process because it's really hard to really hard to see. It's not gonna look like this at the end, trust me, man. It's gonna be a disaster. Oh. I'm just starting with the face right now just because I want to get it's pretty light, my zenithal. I didn't go too much, so I just did I just rattle canned it. I don't like to do like too much primer zenithal. So you can see it's fairly straightforward. So I just primed it black, and then I do just like a very like light rattle can, I guess. Let me see here. I don't even know this. I want the main outside cloak to be kind of a dark brown. Start putting down that color while the face dries. So yeah, I watched. Anyone watch the Fabricators Forge GT today? I watched the top table, a few of the games there. Interesting. Made me really miss playing, for sure. Man, these models going together, it was they were really easy to put together, but I also feel like I don't know, I kind of feel like they're very finicky, I feel like, you know? I could definitely see like someone that maybe isn't a great modeler snapping these models in half. Like the joints and stuff, they're really finicky, I guess. Yeah, I just use a rattle can, guys. I'm too lazy. If it's like maybe a competition piece, I might like do with like a white ink. But I was like, you know what, these Cursed City models. So the whole point of this speed painting challenge is to get this stuff painted super fast and not worry too much about like it being perfect, because I feel like yeah, because it's not supposed to be perfect. So I just want to kind of be quick and dirty here. And I'm gonna basically avoid using washes, and you guys will see kind of some of the techniques I use. I think washes are really nice, but like for my purposes today, because I don't have a ton of time, they're a bit of a trap. So I'm gonna try to avoid using washes as much as I can. Hey JB, how's it going, man? We're doing a speed painting challenge, so I have 2 hours. You can see my countdown clock to paint this model from start to finish. And so that's the goal right now. And you know why I picked this model, guys? Really, there's a lot of brown in it, so I can kind of get away with starting with some basically just brown on just every surface, this dark brown, and then basically by varying that's not a word, by doing variations of my shades, I can basically build up each different kind of texture and material differently. So then in the end, I'm going to end up with a model that, although it is mostly brown, I'm able to kind of get away with a lot of, I guess, tricks and stuff to keep this, like, I can basically base coat the whole thing with brown and then just highlight each separate area separately. So a different color of brown. Even my reds here, I'm going to go over a little bit of brown, because I don't want so like the gloves here, and obviously the gloves and the what color am I gonna do the gloves? I'll do the gloves black. But like the hat, for instance, brown. I have a picture of the model next to me just so that I can kind of use it as reference. That's always like a handy thing when you're doing speed painting. You always have like a reference. Not just because it helps you scheme, but sometimes with these models, I find the delineation between different textures and surfaces can be quite hard to tell, like where one material ends and where another thing begins, or at least where they tended two different things to be different materials. So by having a picture of the model, I'm able to kind of like reference it and kind of tell if something is different between two different surfaces. So I mean, no, not for today. I think for today I want to kind of do this old school, I guess. I find myself I rely too much on washes sometimes. And as much as I love washes, it always produces a certain level kind of look to mini. It's very much Also, one little tip here, because my base is part of the drawing time, I'm kind of gonna work from it bottom up, I guess. Like I'm gonna do the base first, just so that I can kind of work around it, but then I'm gonna do the boots next and the black areas, so that I can actually do the base quickly. And I might actually even use some texture paint for that. Not quite sure yet. I'm not gonna use sand because it takes too long to dry. The goal is that like these models are done super fast. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm just doing base coats on all the various materials. And even though I'm not going to finish them all now, what this allows me to do is it kind of helps me visualize the various areas and what I want to work on, and also kind of what order. It just gives me a general idea of like the color blocking essentially. So like what areas are going to be black, what areas are going to be brown, what areas are going to be other colors. So it just helps me as part of like actually like painting the model. It's almost like color by numbers at that point, right? So once I've done the kind of main base coating, then I can kind of just go to each area and highlight, kind of work up from that. So that's why I'm working with a very dark color right now. Black areas, brown areas, a little more brown areas I keep finding. Things that I think I want actually brownish. And so this is, I'm using the black brown from Pro Acryl, which is one of my favorite colors. It's a very good matte brown color, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't even call this really speed painting. I think speed painting would be like 30 minutes if you want to do like true speed painting. I do think 2 hours per character, that was pretty good. And because, I still want it to be painted to a certain level of quality. I don't want it to be shite, so it's definitely, Look, you can see the little ray of sunshine on my wet palette there. My window. Back over the face because I had to correct some issues. You got an eye patch? Oh, he does. I didn't even realize. See, this is why also the model is nice to look at. I have a picture of it, and then it's so small, but I didn't actually realize he's got an eye patch. So that'll actually that'll be interesting to paint a little bit different. Okay, let's see. Dark silver. Using a rosemary and code number 1 size, series 33. It's nice, really nice. It's one of my favorite brushes. It's got like a really sharp point. You can do a lot of kind of almost like fine detail base coating, if that makes sense. Doesn't really make sense, but I'm probably gonna play it. I mean, hopefully. Maybe, to be honest. I'd like to play. It's not that I don't think I'll play it. I just with COVID right now, it's like we're not really supposed to even really be gathering. So It could be like 4 months before I can gather a group to play. And then the other thing is too, like, if I'm playing games, if I'm having to like leave my house, gather to play games, I'd much rather play 40k. You know what I'm saying? Because like the same people that I play 40k are the same people that play this game. It's not like a different group of friends. So it's not like I can have some game nights where I play this and some game nights where I do something else. It's all the same. This is kind of this is why I love the wet palette, because this is the tool that's going to make you speed up your painting the fastest and just give you really great results. There's very few tools that'll allow you to do what I'm doing right now, as far as having all your paints out, mixing them kind of live and wild as you go. So if you don't have a wet palette, I don't even know what you're doing. What else? That's gonna silver. Grabbing a few buttons there. What else? That's most of the silver. Oh, there's a little thing on his hat. Okay. Guys, make sure to I'm just gonna shamelessly plug the channel, but make sure to subscribe on YouTube, please, or Twitch if you haven't already. Watching from one of the other platforms, really helpful for me. Trying to get up to 1,000 YouTube subs. That's when all like the cool features unlock, and I get a lot more ability to make different kinds of content and stuff. I just found a little bit of places where I put paint a little too thick, so I'm just going in with a like a wet brush and kind of taking it off. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the eyes and the face. So I'm gonna get a fine detail brush. This is a what is this? Artist Opus. So it's gonna be hard to see because I'm trying to hard to see from here. Wait. Do the eyes now. So when I do eyes, I usually go into a little bit of black first. I'll paint the whole eye cavity black. Some people do the white and then the black, but I find black is better. That is horrendous. I just fucked this up so bad. It's okay. We'll fix it. That's why I'm doing this first. Putting a little bit of black in there for the eye patch as well. I did way too big of a dot. It looks like someone shot him in the eye with a black gun. A black paint gun. So I'm gonna go back in with a little bit of my flesh color. That up. This is probably the part where I have to be the most careful. Not quite. A little bit more cleanup. All right, let's go. Oh, eyeball. So when you're working with very small areas, I usually go a little bit thicker on the paint because you definitely don't want to pooling. And because you're using such thin brush strokes, you want to be able to control the paint a lot better. So I'm using this Pro Acryl almost completely, like it's quite dry, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's like basically pure thick paint, and I'm just being very careful with how I apply it so that I don't like end up pooling the paint a bunch, and then it just like ruins it. Then I have to like start again. Any questions, guys, while I'm doing this? Okay, now I'm gonna try to do the eyeballs. So a little bit of the white. This is where it's gonna be like super hard to, you probably won't be able to see this at all. I'm gonna try to be really careful with the eyeballs. One eyeball. So small. Boom. Gross. So now I can go back and clean up the little bit of black. I made the actual ball like way too big. There's like a giant bulb of white in there. Okay, a little bit more skin color. Gonna go in with that to kind of clean up around the eyeball. Although this is a speed paint, I still want it to be pretty high quality, so I'm gonna make sure I'm cleaning up things like eyeballs, stuff like that. So look, a little bit more. Yep. One little bit more or less highlight on the top of the cheekbone. The nose. Perfect. Now, I think I'm just going to go with a little bit more black. Just poke the middle of the eye just one more time to reestablish the separation. All right, I think that's good. Okay, you guys can't see this. I'm gonna actually post photos of this. I'm gonna post photos of this model up close once I'm done with it. All right, so that's done. Okay, so I mentioned to you guys I'm gonna do the ground up here, and the reason is because I want to do the, is it? I thought I had typhus corrosion, did I not? I swear I had the crackle paint. What's that crackle paint called? W makes. I had a pot of that somewhere. Can't find it, so typhus corrosion. This is it. Okay, I ended up not having it after all. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw some typhus corrosion down on the base, and for this I'm actually gonna use like a different brush because this typhus corrosion has like, it has like sand in it and shit. It's got like a weird texture to it. I'm gonna go really heavy up. While also using the paint handles key, otherwise I wouldn't be able to hold it. Okay, so I just went in with a layer of typhus corrosion on the I swear I had the crackle stuff, which is what I was planning to use, but I for the life of me I can't find it. I don't even know what it's called at this point. And you know what? I'm gonna run out of time, so I'm gonna keep going. Alright, so base is drying, so I'm gonna start on the so now I'm gonna basically work from the inside out the rest of the model. So I'm gonna start on the underneath cloak here. I already got a little bit of snakebite leather. I think it's called snakebite leather. They may have changed the name. A little thinner. Adding water to that. I want it nice and thin, and that way, as I glaze it in, it's gonna kind of blend in with my color that's already there. Then for this, I'm gonna add a little bit of the bone color, and I'm just gonna kind of wet blend basically at the bottom. Kind of pulling towards always want to, whenever you're kind of doing a wet blend like that, you always want to just kind of pull in the same direction, so all the paint ends up kind of in the same direction like that. I don't know, leather something, flare and sand, but I just think it was snakebite leather because I grew up on snakebite leather. That's called flare and sand now. Okay, a little bit more color. Just working in a little bit. Okay, so that's it. That's all I'm going to do for the bottom. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on, I think, the boots. Maybe the boots? No, maybe I'll do the hair. Guys, seems like you have black hair. Go back in with a little bit of black. Do his hair. Right now. Also just help clean up a little bit of the overspill from the flesh color in and around his cloak. Perfect. Is that good? Did I get it all? Okay, and then for the black, I'm just gonna take a little bit of black, mix it with a little bit of white, make like a gray, just to highlight the. While that's drying, I'm gonna keep switching colors really quick. So I'm going to start on kind of the main body of the cloak. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my mahogany here. This is Pro mahogany. I'm getting it quite wet. And I'm just going to kind of do like a bit of a, not a wet blend, but basically like a very kind of thinned out first layer. This is just going to kind of set the values, the light values for a lot of the highlighting. So I always want to make sure, I want to like, the first highlight you do after your base coat is always so important because it kind of you're placing it like where your highlights are going to go, and once you kind of figure out that first highlight, the subsequent highlights are a lot easier to place because you're just going to go smaller and smaller and higher on the after that first highlight. So always with the very first I guess highlight after your base coat, this is the most important I guess color, because it really sets the tone of like where the rest of the highlights are going to go, right? Because you're going to follow that next color with your like highlights, right? So let me see here. So how's our time? An hour and a half. Fuck. So really important that first kind of set of highlights, you're really careful with it and really being deliberate of like where it's going to go. Also, because I base coated everything here in the same color, this will help start to differentiate the various shades of brown. So I kind of did everything with the Pro black brown, but I want to start now differentiating between different materials, different leathers, that kind of stuff. And so by this first highlight will kind of set the boundaries for that main brown color, and then things that I don't highlight here are going to be a different shade of brown. So it kind of helps guide me as far as like what's going to be what color. So really, really important that you kind of think about this highlight stage. and you make sure you get every area that's going to be that color. Yeah, it's funny. I still have a lot of the old names in my head, GW names, and I still call the paints that, like, even the inks, like the washes. I don't know what they're called normally. I just call them like black ink, brown ink, like, you know what I'm saying? Well, I know what they're called, but I just call them black ink, the black one. Okay, I kind of got a bit of overspill here, so I'm just gonna go back in. This is the great thing about a wet palette. I got some paint here, so I can kind of go in and fix that mistake really quickly. Do one kind of final highlight along the edge. Got a little bit more highlighting in there. Okay, so that's the jacket, base coated. Chestnut ink, yeah, man. Purple ink was my favorite, but notice like a little bit of plastic. There. Go. Okay. So that look good? Any other brown areas? That's gonna be that brown. Oh. I was thinking about doing the okay, so now a little bit of mahogany. Now, a few ways to do brown. Obviously I got a few different brown tones here, but for the purposes of this, because I want it to kind of feel cohesive, I'm gonna actually just highlight this with a little bit of bone as my highlight color, and I'm just gonna put in a little bit of red. A little bit of the red, a little bit more red tone. And again, making sure my paints are nice and thin, but I still want control. So make sure you don't go over thin, but you really want, that's where I'm gonna get like nice and smooth blends here. And this is where I gotta be mindful of my time, because I could spend like 25 minutes on this one color, kind of doing like a lot of really like nice highlights, making sure it's really smooth. But because I'm speed painting, I'm gonna kind of pick some nice shades and just make sure that my highlighting is smooth, and that way I can kind of do quickly without having to kind of be too fussy about it and kind of move on to the next area. If I was, say, going to do this normally, maybe I would spend a lot more time just really making sure all the highlights are like super smooth. But in the case of this model, because I kind of want it done really quick, I gotta be mindful, because yeah, as I said, this is like a very major part of the model. I could easily spend like 30 minutes just on this like one bit of cloak, but I don't have that kind of time, right? Also, if you notice mistakes, as you notice mistakes in where'd my little guy, make sure to go back and fix them. And one thing I'm noticing as I'm doing this is that in the skin on the face, there's not very much definition between the like the nose. So I'm just gonna go back with a little bit of my flesh color and just paint a little bit of a shadow in between like the nose here and then underneath the cheek, and it looks already just 1,000 times better. Okay, so then I'm gonna do one more last highlight with my brown here. Get a little bit of that, add my bone. And you can see like this is a big jump up in like brightness, I guess. But because I'm going really thin, it should too high. A little bit. There we go. So I did a little bit too much bone in there, and the jump between those colors was too high. So I just have gone and toned it down a bit. A little bit more of my brown. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get everything kind of to 90% where I'd be happy to put on the table. And if I have time at the end, I'm going to go back and maybe hit one more last like edge highlight or extra highlight. But for the purpose of just getting this done, oh fuck. Don't do that. I'm going to basically not fuss too much, you know? Sometimes you got to make sacrifices. Yeah, purple ink was my favorite. Chestnut ink, magenta ink. All right, so and then also just be mindful of your shadows, right? Like there's like areas underneath here, under this hat, which is definitely never going to be seen. So I'm not going to highlight it. You know, just leave it in that nice dark color. I'm just going to go carefully and fix the edge here where it kind of switches over. All right, so that's where we're at so far. Yeah, I promise, guys, the camera resolution. Oh yeah, I give you an update. I mentioned yesterday that I got a capture device for my camera feed, but it was not working, I guess. So I ended up having to return it and getting a different one. So that should be here on Tuesday. So Tuesday's stream should have the new tech, and I'm hoping that the quality of the stream will be a lot higher on Tuesday as well. So as far as like the top-down camera. So stay tuned out for that. You guys know. Yeah. Okay, so let's see now. Right or not right now? Okay, what's next? Okay, so now I'm gonna do the, I guess, the belts, buckles. Make a little bit of a mix here. Bucks in it. I'm gonna put a little bit of touch of gold in here. So for this, I'm gonna use Orc. This is called Negro Gold by Scale 75. I don't know why it's called that. Black gold, I guess. I don't know. Pick out some of the gold parts. What'll be cool, Brian? I'm trying to fix my... Like, I don't know if it's because I have the light on my side, but I'm like, I can't, it's like everything's washed out. Oh, well. Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, the gold areas. I'm gonna base coat the gold areas. So the gun. I'm probably gonna hit it with another level of a typhus corrosion here in a sec on the base. These projects are fun too because they're like a nice little distraction from just like normal like models that I've been working on. So that's why I do enjoy them. As soon as I'm done this, I'll have to go back to painting Death Guard for commission. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do the metals. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of the black and a little bit of my dark silver, and I'm just gonna paint this into kind of darken my metal color. So this will be, instead of doing a wash, I'm gonna basically do kind of like a very black metal shade into the shadows. So with a lot of times, like, people always think about like building contrast through highlights, but your shadows are just as important. So if you want to get like really nice contrast on the model, sometimes pushing your shadows really dark is more effective than trying to kind of just brighten things up even more. So if you guys saw my stream the other day, last night, I have a massive amount of Death Guard, sorry, not Death Guard, Space Marines next. So that should be fun. That's not very exciting because it's like so many models and I feel like boring to watch. I'll definitely do some of it on stream, but the thing is, it's gonna be kind of very mass produced. So it's kind of like not that exciting, I guess. I'm just going in, I'm painting a little bit of dark, kind of a dark metal color. I made it so a little bit of black, a little bit of my silver. I'm just kind of painting that almost like I'd do a wash. I'm just kind of painting that into the crevasses of the metal, and then I'll go back later and basically highlight it with my like mid-tone and my brighter metal color. Yeah, kind of. The Zenithal doesn't help a ton, to be honest. It's more for just me to help place my shadows. Okay, I'm going back to a little bit of gold. So at this point, what I'm just trying to do is make sure I understand. I'm just trying to kind of visualize in my head what I want gold, what I want silver, get them all at least base coated a little bit, and then that way, like if everything has at least just a base coat, a single color, then it's a lot easier. Like the thinking's done for you. You don't have to kind of sit there and think about how you're gonna paint the rest of the model. It's very much just, okay, everything's got a base coat, so now it's kind of like color by numbers, I guess. And it's a lot more like brainless after that point. How's my time? An hour 13. We're doing pretty good, but I don't want to get cocky. Like the cocky guy. Just realized I missed a little part of the cloak on the back. This is why the butt pallet's beautiful, because I just have that color on my palette already. Gonna go and just grab a little bit. Up. And then what I'll do is if I have time at the end and I want a little bit more contrast, then I can go in kind of with a little bit more of these colors and just kind of really pop everything one level higher than I normally would. Do you mean like mass produce painting them, or what do you mean? I think that's good for metallic areas. And now I'm gonna make like a little bit more of a even darker wash here. So this is gonna be just black, a little bit of my black brown in there. And I'm gonna get this super thin on my palette. And I'm just gonna basically paint this into the darkest recesses. This is kind of like a wash, but because I'm using it very selectively, I'm just kind of going around the rivets. And it's almost like a glaze into those dark areas. It's not quite a wash. And I'm gonna go over my gold as well. So I kind of darken that down. So also, this will help go into the areas between the different panels and basically add a little bit of contrast. In between the panels, I'm getting around all the rivets, just down below these plates. And because there's no real metallics in there, it's going to give those like kind of dark areas like a nice kind of, like it's not a dark metallic, it's just a kind of like a dark glaze I'm kind of painting in. You give them like a nice kind of used look, kind of exactly what I want. Hey, come on. Dane, are you working on anything? And I'm just going to paint that in between all the armor plates, and that'll help distinguish the plates from each other. Alright, now, so that's all my metallics kind of base coated and done that kind of initial glazing. Down. Alright, now I think I'm gonna do, I'm getting bored of painting. So one of the things with painting, guys, is if you get bored, do something else. I'm getting bored of painting all this brown, so I'm gonna switch over to my red a little bit. Do a little bit of red. Bring in a little bit of red there. This is Galvor Black Red, it's like the GW base coat color. So always with painting, it's like do what's fun, do what's exciting, do what motivates you. Don't force yourself if you're not, you know, if you're getting bored of painting one color, do something else, right? Like you don't have to follow any sort of like set path here. Bring in a little bit of red. Gonna help accent. Are you doing that for a specific list, or is that just kind of for people or for yourself? Red. More red on the front, so here. I've never actually painted any Hellblasters. So. Aren't they just Marines with plasma guns, basically? Okay, so I'm just trying to base coat all these red areas. I got a big drop of water from my brush into into my red, but no worries. Work around it. Incorporate it into our process here. Red. What character should I do tomorrow, guys? On tomorrow's stream. Alright. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to do the leather straps because I want to work a little bit backwards. So I think for the leather straps, I'm going to use my burnt umber here. Sorry, my light umber. Pro again, everything. I'm adding a little bit of the base color as the first highlight to everything, and that's going to help tie it in, help tie it in a little bit to that base color. And so that my blends are nice and smooth, I guess, without being too weird of a jump, and keeping that same tone of the base color, but not being too different, I guess. It helps to stick a bit. All the straps. Again, there's no real order, guys. I'm doing this here. It's just like what I feel like painting at the time. Sometimes I'm gonna do the metals. Sometimes I've been switching kind of all back and forth. I haven't actually finished all these areas. It's just kind of keeping it exciting, and like while my red's drying, I'm switching to another color, another area, kind of moving on quickly, not spending too much time waiting for drying time. Leather, strap. That's gonna be the backpack. Will be the colors of the straps. And for the leather, I'm gonna do a little stippling technique on the actual, after the first highlight here. The next few are gonna be stippled, and that's gonna give it like a little bit of texture to the straps. And basically kind of a crosshatch technique to help differentiate the look of the leather from each other. Okay, so that's all the straps, I believe. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with a little bit of my dark umber. Add a little bit of bone to it. And I'm just going to do like a little stippling technique. So basically very kind of rough. I'm kind of just pulling. Kind of like a stipple. And a pulling the brush, pushing the brush. Add a little bit of texture and some interest to the leather. It's not just going to be like flat highlighted. The main big no, I'm just doing the heroes on the speed paint because I might actually do a Vampire Count's army, the new Gravelords. So I think I'm gonna try to do like a nicer job on the rest of the dudes, because I want to potentially figure out a scheme and maybe have them as part of a heroes in a Vampire Count's army of some kind. Whether that actually happens or not, I mean, this is probably a very low chance, but I don't want to speed paint them necessarily. I'm just kind of doing a little stippling technique, guys, on this area here. Kind of just pushing paint, just kind of dotting my brush. It's going to help add a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest. You know, it's not just a bunch of different flat brown colors. This is like more of a... Whereas his jacket is maybe more of a just like a dark fabric, maybe like a wool. His bag is leather, so it's going to definitely have a little bit more texture in it. And this is going to just help. And the nice thing about a technique like this is you don't really have to be careful. You can just kind of go and kind of do kind of just randomly. And so it's not like there's a whole lot of, care put in here. It's very, very random and kind of rough. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to do that again, but now I'm going to add a little bit of more snakebite because I just wanted to bring a little bit more of the yellowness. Oh, there's a hair in there. A little bit more of the yellow tone into the leather. So. So see how my brush is moving? It's just like very kind of random. I'm almost like not being that careful. Kind of pushing paint, poking at it, poking at the edges more. Where I want a bit more texture. Right, because your leather is always going to be a bit more cracked along the edges, a little bit more worn out. And with this, I do want the paint quite dry because I want a little bit of texture actually from the paint as well. I don't want it just the texture that I'm painting on, but if the paint's a little dry, it's actually going to add its own little texture too, just from like the physical like paint, right? So go a little bit dry with this. And don't be scared because it's such a small model to really go heavy on those edges. Okay. So, oh guys, I got an hour left, about halfway through. All right, while I'm waiting, I'm gonna do a quick another layer of the typhus corrosion wherever it is on the base. I swear I had the crackle paint somewhere. A different brush here, guys, because this stuff looks like it's super gnarly. It's like basically sand and like paint mixed together. Another layer of typhus corrosion on the base. Alright, so there's, and I'm just gonna do one more little bit of and I'm gonna add a little bit of bone just to do just one last little highlight of the leather. And I'm just gonna use kind of the edge of the brush here, and I'm just gonna be like just along the edges of the leather. Just kind of like a very light touch, just the very edges. Just kind of poking at the very highest points. Again, you can see I'm not really painting it on, I'm kind of just like pushing it on. Almost like stabbing it. Okay, there you go. So there's my leather. Okay, next I'm gonna work on the pouches, which are, again, they're still leather, but because I don't think that they're going to be basically as worn as, say, like the other leather, I'm going to even do another tone on this as well. So this, maybe I'll bring in a little bit of my flesh color here to get kind of like a very interesting color. Kind of play around with my mixes here, see what I want to do. This is like my cloak mix, so maybe I bring a little bit of I don't know, let's bring a little bit of this color in there, a little bit of red maybe. A little bit of this blue. Like a cooler leather. That's cool. Okay, so it's kind of like a messy color. So again, no real formula here, guys. Just kind of doing what feels good on the canvas. Just trying to bring some interest to the various areas. I don't really have a plan. This would not be something I'd do for an army because I'm never going to replicate half these colors. But since I'm doing a single figure, it's not a big deal. I'm going to push a little bit of, let's say a little bit more of this flesh color in. And this is just going to give all the, because there's so much brown, I want to make sure there's like differentiation between the various kind of browns, right? Otherwise it's just going to be monotone. This is why it's important to like kind of shake up not just the colors that you use, but also the techniques that you use, right? Even if, you know, I could do this in 12 shades of brown, but if everything is smooth and highlighted, all going to feel very same. So by doing a combination of different textures, stippling, that kind of stuff, it helps me, it just helps like add a little bit of more interest in there. And then again, I'm going to go one last color, highlight here, just on the very edges. Okay, just like that. All right, next I'm going to do the stakes. So these I want quite bright because I want them to stand out. So I'm going to get a little bit of my bone here, and I'm going to do a very kind of light wash here. Not light wash, sorry, light color. A little too light, but this is going to be the brightest wood, I guess, in the whole shebang. Filler user base. It's called Elmer's Pro Bond. I'll grab it for you when I'm done the stream because I'm running low on time. And I got a timer going here, so I'm doing the stakes in kind of the brightest color for the wood, I guess. I want them to feel like they've really been sharpened and like kind of all the bark's been removed, and it's a nice kind of bright, and I want them to really pop off across the darkness of the leather. They really stick out. Okay, so I'm just going through, doing like my first coat on the stakes. Again, don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect here. There will be some correction always, but I just want to base coat, make sure to get the volumes, figure out kind of where these, especially with these small models, it's sometimes hard to tell where like one material ends. So this stage is important because it helps kind of differentiate, okay, where are these stakes actually on the model, like where do they actually start and stop. And then there's obviously one in the gun, so I'm going to paint that at the same time. Alright, what else? Okay, so now that the stakes are done, I'm going to add a little bit of mahogany. Just in between, just kind of like basically blackline them. Give them a little bit of a brown glow. And then I'm also going to try to maybe paint on a little bit of like grain, I guess. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's a very wet version of the paint, and I'm just going to kind of pull it along towards the top. And kind of give it like a very, very brownish like glow. Slash like tinge. And I'm just kind of stippling it with this kind of brown color. Kind of in the shadows. Okay, alright. so feeling good about that. And then I'm going to go back in with my highlight and just kind of pull just like striations here. Again, just trying to add some texture. Pulling it quite one direction. Leaving a little bit of that like brown to be show underneath. And that's just going to give a little bit of interest to the color. Okay, so that's it. Flakes are done. All right, so next I'm going to do... actually, maybe I'll just go one little bit more with some white. Oops, a little bit too wet there, but it's okay. Okay. Oh, that coming on. Alright guys, 52 minutes. I think I can do it? I think so. Alright, now I'm going to start going in my black. So I got a little bit of Inky by Darkness here. Going to add a little bit of black to it. Kind of recover all my black areas. I like Inky by Darkness because it adds a little bit of interest to the black. It's a little bit of like, a little bit of the blue tone. Oh. Going in. Space in between these plates. Very carefully here. Again, this is not going to be super visible, but I just want to make sure at least it's getting that, like, I'm just painting the color into all the shadows. Okay, the gloves. Up the gloves. So just using my brush again, I'm just doing a very kind of quick, it's almost like rebase coating. I'm leaving a little bit of the matte black in like the very recesses, but I'm basically kind of going back over all the black areas here, making sure that and I'm starting to kind of figure out where I want to, generally want like kind of planning out highlights here at this stage as well, like getting an idea of, okay, where my color is going to get brighter and where I'm going to leave them dark, and where I kind of leave a little bit of that black is from the original base coat. That's where it's going to be kind of like, it's going to be instructional, I guess, when I'm going to my next stage on like what I'm going to highlight and what I'm not. And then any other areas that I maybe forgot to pick out in black. But now, maybe the handle here of the sword, black, with a little dagger. Okay, and then I think I'm gonna go black on, say, the hilt of the weapon here. One thing too, like, don't overcomplicate these models with like too many different colors. But like reuse colors for, like, yeah, black could be the leather. It could also be like this area here on the handle. It could also be like the boots. Like, it doesn't have to be like every surface is painted completely different. You just want, otherwise it's gonna look like a mess if everything is painted a totally different color. So just be smart about how you're using different colors to basically like merge in your various highlights kind of stuff. Okay, is there anything else that I want black that's not? Here. Strap, no. Gloves, yeah, that's black. Oh, just this section down here maybe. Go in here. But here. Don't be scared. And because this is black, I can kind of go, I can use it to also, if there's any areas where like maybe there's like the definition is not there, like right here in between the gold plate and the metal, although it's lost a little bit of definition. So I'm just going to take a little of that black as I have it on my brush. I'm just going to kind of pin it back in there, and that's going to help kind of define those areas. Same with here in between the spikes, right? So use your paints for not just one thing, for something else. Oh god, I just realized that there's a whole other set of spikes on the other side. I totally forgot to do them. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the glory of the wet palette. So I just realized there's 3 more spikes here on this side that I totally forgot to do. So let's go and do those. not good, guys. Not good for my being water. Okay. Why that base coat step is so important, because it kind of sets you up for later when you're going to do your highlighting, and it helps you remember which colors are supposed to be in which areas. And I definitely didn't even like really notice that there's a whole nother set of spikes on this. My bad. But nothing in the world, nothing we can't recover from. 46 minutes. We're done. Guys, I also record a podcast called the Exterminatus Podcast, and I'm actually going to be recording that tonight. That's something that I do with the guy Ray and Eric from Arizona. If you guys are interested in like really competitive like 40K podcast, check out the podcast, because it's very, very competitive focused, and it's the three of us. We do discussion and stuff like that. It's a lot different than the shows that I do on this channel. But if you guys are just interested in like just more 40K content, definitely check out the podcast. And I do that weekly, every Sunday. It usually comes. I think the episodes usually come on a Monday, I'd say. Okay, so those spikes are done. And now I'm gonna go back in with that little brown glaze that I made, which was, I believe, over here. And I'm just gonna basically be painting this into the shadows a little bit. I'm going to help differentiate between the plates. Although it's a little bit wet still, so I'm gonna start doing something else. I noticed that there's some silver areas here that I didn't base coat, so I'm gonna go back and do those. So just never wasting time. Always, as soon as if I'm waiting for stuff to dry, find something else to work on, come back to it. Always just kind of keeping the model moving, keeping the brush moving, not being too focused on one thing. That's done. So that's been rebase coated. Perfect. Okay, so while I'm waiting, again, even though I was meaning to do the bone, I'm not going to let it derail me, so I'm going to go in and start doing some highlighting on the metal. So I'll grab a little bit of my silver, starting with the legs. And just getting the edges here, hard edges of the metal. Making sure I'm leaving the darkness wash that I did around the rivets in those areas. What's the subject tonight? I don't know. I think we're gonna go over some of the events from this weekend. We're gonna probably go through, like, we basically go through the ITC rankings. We go through tournaments, lists, army lists. Like, it's very like it's kind of very, I don't want to say data driven, but it's a lot more like, hey, here's the lists, here's the outcomes. It's whereas my shows are like a lot more like kind of loose, like just kind of random, like me kind of ranting basically. So. But I'm just a co-host. Like, I don't actually. It's Eric's, and like Eric basically started the podcast, but he usually sets the agenda for like what we're gonna talk about. So I don't usually know. I just kind of show up and I talk, and that's why I enjoy it, because I don't have to do much work for it. So just armor plates, edges of the plates, around the rivets, the spot highlight. Pop out those rivets. Hammer. Always whenever I do this kind of stuff too, I always try to like add a little bit of texture. So don't just do like a flat, like perfect highlight. With metal, it's gonna have scuffs. It's gonna have like little bits of dents. It's gonna have all sorts of like, you know, just add some interest to it by not just doing like a clean, straight highlight, right? Like if you add a little bit of texture by, you know, maybe not highlighting certain spots and highlighting a little bit inconsistently, and that's going to help add a little bit of interest to those surfaces. that's not otherwise there, because this is just smooth plastic, right? But you can add a little bit of like texture and interest and kind of use and worn usage, just by like varying how your brush strokes are applied, making sure that like you're not just doing kind of like a straight flat highlight, like you're like, you know, metal is not cloth, right? So it's gonna have different, like if I was doing cloth, for sure I'm gonna do a lot smoother, but with your metal you want that little bit of variation. You want there to be like dings and scratches and all that kind of stuff. So and obviously the models are too small to have that built in, so you have to kind of add that yourself. And so just don't be scared to have like thicker paint, a little bit thicker, a little bit textured. Have your brush, like if the tip's starting to split a bit, don't worry about it, because as the tip is, it's just going to put paint in kind of different random directions, right? Sometimes I actually like a little bit of a split tip, because it helps add a little bit of like, I guess, like randomness to the placement of the paint, you know? Just kind of goes where it wants rather than like where you want, and that can help add a bit of texture to the model as well. So not the end of the world. I've been on Forge Narrative, yeah. I don't say I'm friends with Paul, but I know Paul and we chat quite a bit. I've been on that show a few times, yeah. But they have a bit more of a regular co-host. Maybe he didn't like me as a co-host. I tend to take over the podcast that I'm on. So, and they like that on Exterminatus, because I think they needed a little bit more like competitive person. But I don't think Paul Murphy liked that very much. I was like speaking over him and stuff. Okay. So now I'm just going in with a little bit of the brighter silver, just popping out a little bit of like on the tops of the rivets. Made a little mistake. Whenever I make a mistake where there's a little bit of overpaint, I just grab a little bit of paint water. Like I wipe off my brush right away, and I kind of just flood the area with a little bit of paint, and then kind of just pick it up, pick it off, I guess. Once it's like kind of it kind of stays wet, and then I'll just kind of pick it off a little bit, like kind of like wipe it off almost, rather than kind of go back later. Picking out these like little bolts here, little rivets. We grab all the edges. Again, just adding a little bit of texture. I'm gonna do these in a bit of a random way. I don't want to say it's like dry brushing, but it's like almost wet brushing, because like I'm kind of doing it very kind of like uneven and rough. And that's, again, it's just gonna add a little bit of interest to the model. A little bit of texture. Pop out those rivets. You want your paint fairly thick for this stage. You don't want to be doing like a thin paint. All right, 39 minutes, guys. Okay, what's next? All right, so I'm gonna go back to my stakes, which I'd taken a little break from. So just painting in between these little cracks, and that's gonna add a little bit of definition in between, and then just thin it down a bit and kind of just do a very like uneven wash of these stakes. And what that's going to do is it's going to just like put in a little bit of texture where that paint dries. And the thing is, because it's not a wash, it's not going to settle nicely in the cracks. You're going to get like actually quite a bit of variation with like the drying patterns, and it's actually something that we want. We want the paint to kind of not dry consistently, because then we're going to use that to our advantage when we go back in with our blonde in a sec here, our blonde color. That's going to help kind of add a little bit of texture and like interest to the like the inconsistency of how it dries is going to help us, because it's going to basically mean that the paint dries inconsistently. So now it's done. So now I'm going to go back with my blonde, kind of blonde brown, whatever you want to call it. I'm just pulling down, kind of creating a little bit of like striations, I guess, almost adding a little bit more texture back in. Again, with these small models, the key is just lots of texture, different you know, you can be kind of rough with it, right? Like, I think a lot of people think painting sometimes is very much about like very careful, slow techniques, but sometimes the roughness of like randomized brush strokes is actually something that you want. You can use that to your advantage for both speed, but also just for the final look. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of the white back in, that like top highlight. All right, so that's it. So now, oh yeah, we work on the black. So now I'm gonna go back to my black, grab a little bit of incubi. To this, I'm just gonna add a little bit of the bone and a little bit of water. Gotta be really subtle with these highlights, guys. It's really easy to turn it into like blue. I don't want, so I'm gonna add a little bit of my black, keep it nice and dark still, but a little bit of bone as well. It's kind of like a muddy color. Back over all my black areas. Now I'm putting in my first highlights. Where else? Thing. Here. Do you like Forge the Narrative, Corbs? I like hearing Adam's sexy voice, and Tanya's on it. She's great. They have a pretty regular crew though, so I think maybe they don't like me. But I like Paul. Correct. Okay, now I'm just basically going and seeing the tops of the gloves, fingers. I'm gonna bring in a little bit of starting the actual highlighting at this point. Again, I'm not being super careful here, guys. I'm just trying to hit the main areas. When I go to do the edges, I'll definitely do a little bit more of a careful, I guess, iteration. But for now, I'm just being very, very rough. So I'm gonna add a little bit more bone. This bleach bone color. I don't know what it's called. Ivory, I think, by Paracryl. And this time I'm gonna go really, really thin because I want this to be very translucent, and I don't want it to be too strong. And that's gonna be on the tips. Tips of the toes. It's gonna tilt the edges of the glove. Oh really? What kind of stuff do you paint, Corpse? What's your what are the things that you like to collect? I knew people like you existed. I feel like I never meet them, but I think sometimes people feel that everyone that paints plays, but. What's what kind of stuff are you working on, or what are the kind of models that you like to paint? Because I paint stuff according to what I want to play with, but I'm curious if someone is not really actually playing and just gets to pick whatever the fuck they want, what kind of models that they paint. Okay, and then next, guys, we're gonna go a little bit, just one last little bit of white, and this is just gonna be mostly for the very edge highlights. I'm not gonna do on the boots. Maybe I will do the boots. Just the very tips. Just the edges there. Tips of the fingers. Around the top of the glove. Boom. Necron and Dominus set. But okay, so let me ask you a question as someone that just doesn't play. Why would you subject yourself? I paint shit that is annoying all the time, but it's usually because I want to play with it. But as someone that paints purely for the joy of it, why would you ever paint anything that is annoying? You know? It seems kind of like you don't have to. You don't need it for anything. If you really like the models, then shouldn't it not be annoying? What's annoying about it, I guess? Okay, guys, I'm at 33 minutes. Starting to kind of get low on time, so I'm gonna step here. Okay, I'm gonna get into my red here. Right, I guess I don't know why, like, if you're just painting for fun, like, why would you ever? I'd basically paint one model at a time if I was just painting for fun. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd just paint like the cool models I want. I would never paint anything that I found annoying. Curious why you would subject yourself to that. Yeah, you're a completionist. What did you get those Indominus models in a trade, or like why did you end up with them? Because like it seems like, I mean, I guess there's lots of them floating around the internet, but Necrons aren't exactly the most like firing models. I'm gonna be working on a Silent King commission actually coming up, so that'll be fun. I haven't painted any of the new Necrons. Okay, so now guys, I'm adding the red up. I'm starting to get, almost 30 minutes left on this challenge. So now I'm starting to think, kind of strategize, what is like the main areas that I really want to make sure I get like 100% done, and then what are the areas that, you know, if it's not 1000% done, I won't hate myself. Oh, I'll hate myself anyways because I hate incomplete models, but like, what are my priorities, I guess, is the question, right? Oh yeah, I just so I'm I don't say friends, but I'm acquaintances with Simon, who's one of the owners of Creaturecaster, and I was just talking to him on Friday. So they sent me some models. Be here next week, so I'm gonna be painting that on stream. Some Caster stuff for their new models. I'm actually not sure what he sent me, to be honest, but he's being super flaky and sorry, not super flaky, super vague. Yes. Something cool, but I'm hoping to do a little bit more. Like they're based in like BC, which is where I live, so they're just my next door neighbors. Be cool to work for them. So that's something I've talked to Simon about, but not in the cards right now. But thought about maybe doing. Alright, so reds are done. Okay, what is left? So the hat's still not done. So maybe I'll bang that out really quick. So I want to do a little bit of my mahogany. What color do I want the hat? A little bit of this. Maybe I'll throw that blonde in there, or that like bone color. That's way too bright, guys. I did way too bright, but that's okay. I'm gonna just roll with it. I'm gonna just kind of, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go heavy here, and I'm gonna grab a little bit of my dark color here and kind of blend that in. Blend it basically. So just adding a little bit of that dark in the corner and pulling everything out. Back down. Out here then, I guess since I did that technique already, I might as well just do it on the rest of the hat. So adding some quite wet of that really bright mix. Top. Grabbing some dark color. Getting into there, and then just yeah, I used to actually, so Simon used to work for Games Workshop when I worked for Games Workshop. That's how I knew him. Like, I knew him, like, I've known him, well, not like we didn't hang out and like keep up, but like we both used to work for Games Workshop. I think he used to be the manager at like Richmond or something like that, way back when, 1,000 years ago. So that's kind of how I knew him. And then we kind of got caught up, or I guess like reconnected around in like 2019, right? So, but yeah, he's like the guys. He's all over. I feel like he, I don't know what's going on with Creature, like, he's an entrepreneur, right? Like, kind of part of the, I guess, territory, but he seems like, I don't know, a little bit scatterbrained these days with everything that Creature Caster's up to. Okay, I'm just gonna take this color a little bit more pink, the brim now. Edge highlight here basically. Is Mitch the other guy? Who's Mitch, Shane? I'm just pulling like strokes with my brush here. That's gonna give a little bit of texture. Really thin version of this, like my highlights color. Just pulling along the edges, almost like just like pulling lines. That's gonna give it like a little bit of texture. I'll do that. Okay. See, I don't know anything about like their company, like who does what. Guys, 26 minutes. Shit. I just know Simon. Like, I know Tax doing some work for them. Tack must be a busy guy, working for both Playon and Creature Caster. So just using my bright color there just to add a little bit of texture with my brush. Okay, so there's the hat. What's next? Let's go back and hit that gold up. So I'm gonna grab a bit of the gold to get my silver. That's gonna be my highlight color. I'll put the gold a bit. Yeah, the whole Ultra Forge. I know that like there used to be like Ultra Forge basically. Cool. I remember that Kickstarter. Like I remember watching videos on YouTube of like the guy like trying to get the Kickstarter going, and it was just like such a disaster. And he was like, he'd come on video like every like month and be like, guys, I'm fucked. Like the Kickstarter is fucked. Like all this stuff, you know. And I just thought it was funny. Like, dude, like sounds like you're having so much trouble. You know, they went through like so many different issues with like getting that company off the ground. I feel like. I remember them doing like their first videos at a Hammer Time. I don't know if you remember that, Mitch. I remember seeing like a few videos of them like showcasing models. I was like, hey, that's Hammer Time. They're like showing them basically. I think it was Hammer Time anyways, could be wrong. Okay, just went and popped up the gold a little bit. Oh. Still got to do this strap here. Go back, give it a little bit of fix any corrections. So bring back the brown. And while I have this dark brown on my brush, I'm going to use that as an opportunity to like, if there's anywhere where maybe I had a little bit of overspill, like under here, or areas where I forgot to highlight, paint a little bit of it under there. What else we got here? That's so far back, man. That strap. What else? We're almost done, guys. So I'm just gonna basically, while I'm waiting for that brown to dry, I'm gonna do the base. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my white, a little bit of my black, a little bit more black, and I'm basically just gonna wet. Probably not use a fine detail brush for this. I'm using a fine detail brush for just basically everything. So I'm just gonna grab a little bit of my black, Add a little bit of white. Let's add a little bit of blue as well. Over these rocks. I'm not counting the rim guys as part of the paint job, so that I feel like is fair. Like I'll even do the flock and stuff, or like the sand, but I'm not counting the rim job as part of the base, because I usually do 2 coats and like I varnish it and all that stuff. That's the one thing. Yeah, dude. I was trying to tell someone I started in like 1998 or something. I was like, dude, I've been playing for like 22 years. That's fucked. I feel like an old man. I'm not that old. Okay, so the rock on the base is done. And I'm going to actually get a little bit of my typhus corrosion. And I'm just going to kind of stipple it into the outside of the rock here. And that's going to help kind of mold those two together. I'm just kind of stippling in a little bit of the typhus corrosion around the rock, kind of the rock face, I guess. And that'll help kind of blend the rock into the base. All right, so let's go back to that brown strap. So for this, I want to keep it a little bit different as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take some straight white and add it to my brown color here, my base brown, and that's gonna give me a whole different shade of brown than I've been using, right? Because it's like different tone, different saturation. And again, just gonna add some interest. I'm gonna do like little striations, little rough strap, so I want it to look like it's kind of been well used. Boom. Add a little bit more white. 20 minutes, guys. I think we're gonna make it. But I also picked the easiest one to start, so I think this is probably one of the easier ones. Like the alpha is gonna be hard, I think. There's just a little bit of plastic there from like when I was scraping mold lines. Okay, what's next? So maybe just a little bit more white there, because it's still not quite. Add a little bit of so let's add a little bit of red in there. My palette's all fucked up now. It's got like all sorts of weird on here. Like making colors. Okay, add a little bit of texture, that white paint. There's some little straps here, so I'm just going to pick them out really carefully. Okay, alright, so next I'm going to do, I think, the silver on the gun. I don't remember highlighting it that much, so maybe I'll just go back and give it one last little highlight. Pop it out a bit. Yeah, that's true. I'm still holding on to my youth chain. I refuse to believe that I'm old. Although once I turn 37 this year, and then I'm gonna be like, fuck. I am old. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of black brownish mix, water that really, really low, and I'm just going to paint that over the like super thin wash, just kind of in the barrel, just to give it like a little bit of, you know, like black powder leaves like a residue. Paint this kind of like black brown mix kind of up the barrel, and then maybe just a little bit, add a little bit of black, and work that just directly in the tip. I didn't drill my barrel, guys. Don't get mad. Well, I think that would be really hard. Okay, and then I'm gonna use a little bit of that mix as well, just to kind of pop a little bit of depth back into some areas where maybe I over highlighted. So you can see I'm just kind of reusing colors, even though it's not the same. It's not the same mix that I used before to kind of add shadow to my metal. But like, who cares, right? Because like on this size of model, the difference in tone you're not gonna really be able to tell, right? But by kind of popping back in with a little bit of that dark, it's gonna add a lot of like interest. And you know, who knows? Everything is different textures. Oh shit! Now I gotta do the handle of the weapon. So my paint's starting to dry here. So just the handle of this weapon. So I'm just pulling up here a little bit of texture to kind of give it like a bit of a grain. Just noticed I got a little bit of red on my glove, so I'm going to correct that on here. Okay, corrected. Okay, guys. Now I'm going to go give a little base, a little bit more love. So I'm going to add a little water to my wet palette. So I use this thing and just add a little bit of water. So what do I need for the base? So a little bit of my this color, for that, a little black in there. I don't want it too close in tone to the boots because I want it to stand out. So maybe I'll add a little bit of brown tones. And again, I want some texture here, right? So instead of dry, and I'm not really dry brushing, I'm just gonna kind of pull the brush and kind of striations around the rock, leaving a little bit of that typhus corrosion around the edges. Okay, add a little white to that mix. Find it over here. I'm just gonna hit the edges. Kind of doing like almost like a wet brush, but I'm kind of just like pulling the paint away to the edges with my just letting the texture of the brush. My brush is not actually a point right now. It's almost like flat, like where the bristles are. To help put a bit of that texture. All right. Okay, so I got 13 minutes left. I'll give you guys a close-up. The resolution on the camera is not amazing right now because it's not. My ghetto rotator. You know, they have those like turntables that rotate models. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see. Oh, there's a little bit of black area here on the handle that it didn't really get caught. So maybe I'll just make a little mix there. And just kind of I keep just lots of different textures. Is it a good start? What's a good start? Model's a good start, or my rotating turntable's a good start? A good start? Are you being sarcastic? That's supposed to be done. What do you mean good start? I'm not spending... I said I'm going to spend 2 hours on this model. That's why there's a timer. Man, that cuts me deep, my friend. Grabbing a little bit of black. Just kind of blacklining in a few. Breaking up the... I'm all rattled now because I'm like, fuck, what do you mean? How much nicer is it supposed to be for a 2-hour paint job? You got me all rattled, man. Irk. I'm just adding a little bit of texture here to the handle of the gun. That's good. And I'm just gonna add a little bit to the hilt. And then the hilt here. The whole point of this was that it's speed painting. Because I want this set to be done. I want it to be playable in like a small amount of time, you know? Alright, so it looks like I missed a little strap here, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit of strap there. I'm like, I don't want to open another paint, and like some of my paints are dried out on my wet palette. It's pretty warm here, so even with like, okay, so I think that's, oh, the other thing I wanted to do is I'm gonna have to actually get some paint. I want to glaze down a little bit. I got some wildwood here, contrast paint. Really thin it out. I know you're supposed to not use water, but fuck them, I can do whatever I want. I'm just gonna glaze in some of this wildwood on the handle here. Just in some of the darker areas of the leather. Lay that in. I'm gonna add even just more dimension to it. And just help differentiate again between different materials. I mean, I think that's pretty good for 2 hours. I don't know about you guys. It's pretty good for 2 hours. Okay, but it's not over. I still have 9 minutes to make it even better. Let's do some basing stuff. I want some tufts. Where's some tufts? I have to have my tufts. Do I use dead grass? Do I use good color? This one maybe. Grab my super glue. Tweezers. Some rocks. I got this little container of rocks. So, add a tuft. So I'm just using my okay, and then a little bit of a green one maybe. Yeah, I don't know why they were like, oh, you have to use this contrast medium. I just use like my airbrush thinner even. or like lambing medium. I don't think there's anything that special about it, you know? We're gonna add a few like little rocks on the base. There. 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 Yeah, I'll do a close up in a sec, Peter. Let me just All right, so then I'm gonna maybe just do a little bit of texture on the base. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of this. Probably a bad idea at this point to try to do this now, but fuck it. Bring you a little bit of color. Yeah, typhus corrosion. This is where you're supposed to do that part first, so that your rock that you just glued on doesn't fall off. You don't get super glue all over your brush, which I just did. Okay, now we're gonna get a different rock. Okay. I'm gonna pull it off the base or the holder. 6 minutes. Whenever I do my rims, guys, I always use I use my primer. I use like my actual primer on my bases because it's like a lot more resilient than just black paint. It's because it's kind of polyurethane. It's gonna dry nice and thick. You get like a lot more protection because I often find that the bases are like one of the first things that rub off on models. So a little pro tip. Don't use black paint primer, black primer. This, I didn't use an airbrush, dude. This is all by hand. I did this entirely by brush. Yeah, especially when I leave them in a fucking wet coast for overnight. I'm gonna do a second coat of the primer in 1 sec. I got 4 minutes, so I'm actually gonna do something really radical right now, which is I'm gonna do a little bit of varnishing on some certain areas, very selective. I grab my matte varnish, and I'm gonna put a little matte varnish in my palette, and I'm gonna paint. I want what do I want to be matte here? Actually, I don't want any of it to be matte. I think I just want it satin. So, oh yeah, just found a little bit of overspill. Yeah, it's gonna dry a lot thicker and more resilient, the primer, than like just black paint. And so you end up with a lot more protection on your rims, and that's usually the area where I find like rubs off the first when you're playing games. Okay. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a little bit of that wildwood, and I'm gonna kind of dab it on the base, just in and around. Add a little bit of more interest, and to kind of tone down a bit of that the brightness that I created. Yeah, dude. Don't remind me. That was kind of the beginning and the end of my partying ways, though, when it came to events. I kind of got cleaned up my act after that and did pretty good. Let me just pick it a little. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to give you guys the full rotate. I grab a little satin varnish. And I'm just going to paint a little bit of satin varnish onto just a few leather areas. Up. So the reason I took it out of the base holder and I switched it to the tack is because the base holder will like destroy your rims. Like it'll like chew it up. Going in a little satin varnish on the gloves, on the leather areas. This is going to help just give it even more kind of like when we look at this model, it's going to help kind of differentiate that texture even more than it is in that color. So that's where, so like when you're kind of thinking about how to like, you know, take a model that's very monotone and kind of create a lot of interest in it, don't just think about the colors, right? Also think about like the finishes. The gloss, matte, satin, you're going to end up with like a lot of different kind of final looks, I guess. And so you can use that to your advantage to trying to do some correction. I'm just noticing a few like mistakes that I made as I'm doing this. And quickly while I have time. All right, guys. 36 seconds to spare. Okay, so let's do a little close-up. Let me clear my desk. Speed painting challenge number 1 complete. There's the wet palette if you guys are wondering. Oops. Unplugged my camera. Like. That's welcome to my life. You guys are not drunk? What do you think, guys? 2 hours? I do okay. I'm happy with it. I think it's not bad for 2 hours. Oh. That's it, guys. Speed painting challenge. Base. My ghetto, you know those like turntables? Look at this. Am I going? It's. I can't tell because like the thing that I see is like it's kind of small on my TV. So let me. Let's see if we can see the eyes. Let's see how close I can go. Guys. Staring at you guys. Cool. That was fun. So tomorrow, I think I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. 80 to go. What are you talking about, Peter? I got one of these. That's it. Okay, so tomorrow I think. Okay, so here are the options for tomorrow. Let's get a little vote in chat. We can do the ogre. Ogre, option 1. I don't want to do this guy because he's human. He's too similar to this. I want to do something totally radical. So we'll say ogre, elf, or the dwarf. Or sorry, that's not the dwarf. This is the dwarf. What do you guys think? So what's tomorrow's 6 o'clock tomorrow? We're gonna do another one. What's tomorrow's one? Give me yeah, give me your guys' thoughts. Elf, ogre. We got one for elf, one for ogre. Anyone for the dwarf? Wow, man, why you gotta make it hard? Now I got one vote for each. God damn it, Peter. Should have voted for something someone else voted. Okay, how about this? You know what? Let's do it in classic Warhammer style. We're gonna roll the dice. How about that? I'm gonna get a dice. We're gonna roll it. We're gonna roll for it. Okay, here we go, guys. So it'll be a D3 roll for so 1 to 2 needs 1 to 2 will be the dwarf, 3 to 4 will be the elf, and 5 and 6 will be the ogre. Let's zoom out here so you guys can see. Okay, here's the roll. A 3. All right, so it's gonna be the elf tomorrow. Well, that's fun. So tomorrow we're gonna do the elf, guys. But yeah, that was fun. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm gonna post some pictures of this on my Instagram. Make sure to, and I'm also gonna post probably a slightly edited version of this video up on YouTube as well. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about how I did this or techniques I used or anything like that, let me know. Yeah, but it's fun though, because it's like it's actually it's less material, I guess. You know what's crazy? How big these models are. Look at this. It's like the size of a Space Marine. It's like he's taller than a Space Marine. Kind of crazy. So, all right, guys. Great stream tonight. Thank you very much. Have a great Sunday afternoon. I'm gonna go record podcast, and I will be back tomorrow night. We're gonna do this again. Hopefully, I'm less hungover, and yeah, gonna be fun times. So, have a good night, and I'll talk to you guys later.